Hey family, welcome to the Family Meeple. I'm Raymond, and this is the unboxing of Cthulhu Death May Die, Seasons 3 and 4, Fear of the Unknown. Okay, so let's dig into the core box, or season 3 if you have this as a continuation of your previous collection, as I do. So this is probably my number one board game of all time. For many years I refused to buy any board game that had miniatures. So about for the 5+ years, as I started to get into board games and board game collection, anything with a miniature, absolute no-no. Wasn't interested. But yeah, Cthulhu Death May Die was the game that changed all that for me and revolutionized my hobby. It is no small... in no small way. There we go. So let's have a quick look at the external graphics. So obviously, depending on however it is you want to store your items, they have catered for that with the graphics around the box. And as you can hear, there is very, I don't know if you can hear over the mic, but there is very little movement within the box. CMON, even with the original Cthulhu Death May Die, did a fantastic job of providing a very, very good storage solution, and I expect to see no less in here. But let us dig in and find out now. Apologies guys, because I had previously started to record this and then realized actually I hadn't hit record, and so I was just sat here talking to myself. So I'm making sure I've hit record this time, and glad to have you with me. So let's have a quick look at the back then. So, creatures beyond imagining, greater even than nightmares, their presence alone enough to bring the world to an end. Only those fueled by madness have a chance of stopping them. Be it by faith or eldritch influence, cultists found a way to summon great old ones, believed to be only the stuff of legends, into our world, leaving nothing but destruction and horror in their wake. Cthulhu Death May Die, Fear of the Unknown, is an action-packed cooperative board game for 1 to 5 players. The cost for saving reality from eldritch horrors from out of space and time is your sanity, and maybe more. But you know the price is worth paying. So that is a quick synopsis of the game. Do love this, and I've heard it described very much as pure fun to play, and I think the best description I heard in terms of the feeling you get as the crescendos up to its peak is akin to when you were a small child and you used to run up the stairs and your parent used to chase after you, and you know it was just a game, but there was always that sense of running away and potential risk, fear of being caught. That so is encapsulated within this game. It is fantastic fun. So a quick look without further ado at the rulebook. So good square coverage here. So we've got, as you'd expect, your contents and a detailed list of components, including the numbers and names, which is always good. You have your episode boxes and the 2 elder ones that you get in the main box, as well as your 10 investigators and their relevant boards, and a bunch of cultists. So this is very much akin to the original Cthulhu Death May Die Season 1 box. So this is standalone. So if you only have this, you can play it completely with this box and not needing anything else. If you have, like myself, the other content, then this will all be mixed and matched across the board as well, which is for me a massive great thing. So, and here even I love this, so the attention to detail in just providing you and we'll see these in the box, but just providing you different coloured circle bases and tentacle markers. So these are the individual player markers that you get when you're playing, but those colours are each and every one of them different to the original core box. So potentially you could actually have up to 10 investigators. Lord only knows what that would look like in a single game, but hey, you know, I'm sure there'll be people out there doing some homebrew stuff in the near future, and that's going to be crazy, and I'm looking forward to it, folks. So let's have a look. So we've got then a general overview of the games. You've got your episodes and your Elder Ones, and I can remember listening to, what is his name? I can't remember his name now. It's on the box, apologies folks. Eric Lang. I can remember listening to Eric Lang when he was talking about the original design of this game, and he was just saying about the episodes. He was saying he can remember as a kid watching things like the A-Team, watching things like Knight Rider, and the excitement of the idea of having this video display case, of being able to pick out, right, I want to watch that episode. And the core story was all the same. You knew what was happening. You knew from one episode to the next, you knew who the A-Team were, you knew who Knight Rider was, you knew the background story. But every episode has its own unique aspects and characteristics and baddies and all the rest of it, themes, plots, twists, everything. And that was very much what he wanted to capture with this. And he absolutely has delivered in spades. It is fantastic. I love it. Sorry. Could you tell it's my #1 game? So we've got then our Elder Ones, which are all mix and matchable, and half the cards that come from the Elder One, as you choose that, mix in with half the cards, or the other half of the cards that will be featured in the game from the episode. They get shuffled together, so it is completely thematic. Every time you get this to the table, brilliant. Absolute pure joy and brilliance. So we get the storyboard that tracks where the big baddie is in terms of breaching into the reality, and eventually then causing you to lose the game as he overcomes the world. So that's very much your timer mechanism for the game. You have discovery cards, so if you're fortunate enough to end up in a room on your turn without a bad guy, an enemy in your area, then you get to draw a discovery card, and usually they are good, but you have to have usually some kind of stress or some kind of resource in order to pay for getting those goods. So again, it's another piece you have to manage as part of this. These are the Mythos cards that I was referencing earlier. Some are from the Elder One, some of these are from the episode, all mixed together. Fantastic. And then you've got the enemies cards as well. So yeah, as you can see, very clear ways that these are all laid out and organized to help you to follow through the flow of the game. The original one was very, very well written. I expect no less now from this one. And in fact, I think they'll be probably addressing some of those areas that were potentially raised of concern or confusion in the previous iteration as well, because despite what a lot of people say, CMON really do listen to some of this stuff, and they do try to make these iterative improvements as they go. And it certainly has been my experience now, being a purchaser and follower of quite a number of their games now, keeping my bank manager very happy. So we've got some additional rules at the back, so effectively something of your kind of FAQ, additional setup things to be aware of. So we've now got an unknown monsters board that can sit along that main timeline board, and we'll come on to that. So it's kind of a bit of a wandering monsters component that gets added in, and you have the ability now to adjust the difficulty, which is new in here. We have a brief overview of the episodes, but I think this is very much just a reiteration of what we get in the original, the actual boxes themselves. We have our index and of course our credits, and I do appreciate on the back page we do have that rules summary, so you don't have to flick through the entire thing just to get that, and it really does help. But as an age memoir to me, maybe it's just my age, having this on display as an aid memoir, oh yeah, so these are the things that I'm doing, this is the flow of the game, particularly when it comes to resolving the end of turn and the flow in which to do those end of turn effects, and checking various aspects. there really is an element of key timing with some of these things, like checking the Mythos discard pile, summoning the Elder One, and the Elder One end of turn effects. What order do they occur in? So it is critical to make sure getting that stuff clear, and really helpful to have it on display there. So this is then the main time board. So this is exactly as it was in the original. We have, of course, different artwork on the back of the board. So the original was the original Season 1 box. This is, of course, now our Fear of the Unknown box. Beautiful artwork, of course, as always. We have then our timeline, which represents the Elder One trying to break into reality. At red point, he breaks into reality, and then at this point, you've lost the game. You have a place for the Elder One's stack of cards, so they get progressively more and more difficult as you attack them, and more powerful. You have their particular minions that they're bringing with them. Then you have the episode and its monsters as well. So you get all of that being controlled on this one board. And then in addition to that, this is the new sidebar, I guess. This is the new additional content that you can add in. You can choose to add this or not. So it's another way of mixing up all of the content that originally came. And the idea of this, like I say, is very much that wandering monster concept for those of you who have ventured into the world of D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. So these are additional unknown monsters that can be added into the fray, and they will have their own little mechanism as to how they interact and engage and get triggered throughout the game and come after the investigators, in addition to, of course, the Elder One's minions and the episode's enemies as well. So it's another player on the board, as it were, acting against the investigators to make it that bit more difficult. Loving it. So let's dig into the boards. So again, this is core box, so we do have all the life tokens that you'd expect to be able to manage and track where the enemies are at in terms of your attacking them and doing damage to them. We have the portals, so this is where your enemies will manifest from throughout the game as certain cards are turned over and triggered. We have 2 tunnels to connect pieces of terrain and 2 stairs to connect upper and lower decks of layers and levels of terrain. So having a look at the actual terrain tiles themselves, again, as always, glorious artwork throughout. Always really appreciate the effort that's gone to it, and yeah, just really like the way that they've provided this. And I think they do the same with Zombicide as well. Actually, this kind of this peering in perspective view, really great stuff. So here we're in some kind of a sanitarium of sorts. Out here we're out in the street, surrounded by houses. Yeah, fantastic artwork. And this was one of the little things that was a bit of a bugbear in here for me in the original, was you get these little arrows, and some of the locations in the originals I found certainly did make it a bit difficult to track and challenge. Where are the distinct areas? So this one tile here is made up of 2 locations, and it's these arrows that represent effectively where the doorway is between the 2. And as you can see here on this one, this likewise is made up of 2 locations. You've got these arrows here that differentiate between the 2. And then similarly, whoops, on the back. But I think they have paid attention to this. So I think one of the feedbacks, like I say, was sometimes it wasn't massively clear from one location to another. Is this 2 rooms? Is this 1 room? But they've clearly addressed that. And I think all of the artwork that we're now seeing in this version, they've made that much clearer. So let's have a look. So we also then have our fire tokens. So yes, it is possible that you go into a room that has fire and you catch fire, and you'll have to deal with that at the end of your turn by rolling dice that may cause you to go insane, may cause you damage, but there is an element of luck there. You may get away scot-free, I believe is the phrase. But yeah, some fantastic new locations that we're going to see featured in this season. These tokens then are additional skills that you may gain and glean as you go through playing your adventure. So these are made up of the core skills that are spread throughout the different investigators. but there are chances where you'll gain these skills if you pick up a particular item or you find a particular person, they give you that particular ability. So yeah, so these, you can add these into your next to your investigator board. You can see same on both sides. And it just, as an aid memoir and reminder of the fact that you have this new skill that helps you in your ability to overcome the odds of the game. So carry on and have a look at more of these locations. So each of these locations then are double-sided. 28A, 28B is what we were looking at on the other side. All slightly different in terms of sort of their layout and pose and gesture, etc. But yeah, thematically they all work incredibly well with the episodes and the stories that you are following. Let's have a look at some more of those locations. A bit of a train going on here, and again you can see very clearly that clear distinction between one and the other. We've got a bridgeway over a stream, very beautiful artwork as well, and it's very muted. The colouring on this very muted, and again that works well. So, and again, this is another aspect that has been introduced in this season just to help change up that difficulty as we glimpsed in the rulebook. So in the original, when you defeated an Elder One and they would effectively disappear and reappear somewhere else on the board at the beginning of the next turn, it was predetermined when that would be. Once you've played that Elder One a few times, you would know where they go, and you could then obviously track and challenge and set up your investigators to be at the right place at the right time, ready to ensnare the Elder One. This gives you tokens so you can shuffle up, and when the Elder One remanifests, you can determine where they're going to remanifest, so making it that bit more unpredictable and more difficult to manage. We've got a great big winding staircase going down there. So this is our investigator's starting zone and the Elder One tracker. As mentioned, so we've got a bit of a graveyard going on there. Some outlands and something of a museum, perhaps, in this one. Oops. Like that. That really stands out, that blue. Loving that. And again, all different on the flip side. Cobblestone streets. And a bit of is that a barnyard, perhaps? That one. And as you can, I don't know if you can see, but I mean, these tiles are primed for popping. These really are trying to make their own way out already. Very, very easy to get out. There's no tearing or any issues around the edges. Again, CMON have mastered their very thick premium tile production very, very well. Not having any issues with these, and again, yeah, you can see the very clear demarcation of those zones. And again, there were people that complained and moaned about the fact that, you know, you get these, you come onto them the massive miniatures, and then suddenly you get these tiny little rooms, and it's like, oh, there's not enough space to fit stuff on. It's like, yeah, but that's the whole point. Is it's fun, guys. It's fun. It's not. It's supposed to be ludicrous. You know, you've got this great big space creature that is almost sort of deity in terms of scale and size, and yeah, it's not gonna fit in a room. That's the whole point, people. So, yeah, there we go. So another graveyard zone. And I do like, the thing I do like about the tiles, and again, we've seen this again in so many other games, rather than boards with fixed locations, etc., is of course you get much greater level of variability, greater being able to reutilize those tiles. And I guess part of the thing that I'm hopeful for is maybe to see something that we're seeing now with the Zombicide stuff. So with Zombicide, what CMON have started to do is they've started to produce, I think it's on a Friday, Zombie Friday, a new episode, if you like, a little campaign game that you can play through. Scenario, that's the word. So it actually gives you the layout and the particular tasks that you're trying to achieve, etc. And I'd be really really excited to see if CMON will start to produce something similar to that. And they've been doing that now for Zombicide Black Plague, the original, one of the original Zombicides, for many, many, many years. And they're now doing it for sort of like, what have I got? So I've got Zombicide Undead or Alive, so they're doing it for this one. They're doing it for Zombicide Marvel Zombies, and they'll be doing it, I'm sure, for Deceased when that comes, which we'll have in the future to show you as an unboxing. But yeah, so it'd be really keen. But there are community people out there creating this stuff with additional Elder Ones content that you can mix in, additional campaigns. So, and again, please let me know in comments below if you'd like to see some of that stuff. I have obtained some of that stuff and got a hold of it and printed out the contents, etc. So, you know, if that is something you'd like to see play through and see how that works, more than happy to share it with you. Fantastic fun. Okay, so moving on from there, let's next look at our investigators. In fact, do you know what? I'm not going to delve straight into the investigators because I'll do those as we go through the miniatures as well. That gives us a look at those all together. Therefore, let us start diving into the episodes. So, this is what I was talking about in terms of how these are displayed like the old video cassettes of old. So the idea is you would effectively put out a particular episode that you want to watch and engage in, etc. So yeah, so very nicely displayed. Oops, all together. There we go. So labelled clearly as seasons 1 through. Oops. And not necessarily in that order. But yeah, no, great stuff. So we have all the names of the particular episodes there as well for us. Okay, so let us dig into episode 1. There we go. Top of the morning. Have a look. So, and it gives you a little overview on the back of the case, the container, the tuck box. So, Kilkenny was the site of one of the first witch trials in Western history and one of the few to find actual witches. Now though, cultists are using ancient energies to power their rituals. As a side effect, the spirits of the old witches have risen. So, Petronilla de Meath, unjustly accused, and the witch Alice Kytella, who got her condemned, are battling through their ancient feud anew. Only proving Petronilla's innocence will finally lay her spirit to rest, locking Alice along with her. Okay, taking Alice along with her. So that is effectively the storyline that you are playing through. So then when we venture inside this little box, what we have then is all the actual gaming components required to play through this particular scenario. And again, this is one of those ones that unfortunately I had already dug in and started to do the unboxing and found out I was actually just sat here talking to myself as I hadn't hit record. So apologies for that, folks. So let's dig in and see what we get. So we get a snapshot of the wonderful artwork that we saw on the box cover, and then we get let me just pop these bits components out the way to reduce interference with the green screen. So these are the episode enemies that we'll be facing off when we play episode 1. So we'll have a Ghast, which has 3 life and rolls 2 dice when attacking, 2 green dice when attacking. So there's no insanity on the 2 green dice, so that's the way that works. And if attacked but not destroyed, the attacker takes 1 wound. So that's how the Ghast works. And then we have the Unnameable. So this uses 3 black dice, potentially causing you insanity, and 1 green dice. And it cannot be wounded while there is another monster or cultist in the same space. You're going to have to destroy and remove, eliminate everything else first before being able to take on the Unnameable. And yeah, so that was the bad guys that we see. And yeah, I was going to say, sorry, there is additional information now on these cards, because this pool of unnamed unknown monsters, this is then the additional aspect that's been introduced with these seasons. So these are the wandering monsters, effectively, of those elements there. Okay, so, and then we have, as I mentioned, the episode mythos cards. So we have things like these here. Let's have a look. So we've got Whispering Lies. Oops, bring it down a bit. Okay. Yep, so each juror in the same space as a cultist is turned to their guilty side. So in fact, before we dig into that, there should be here it is, scenario card. So every scenario then comes, every episode, sorry, comes with one of these cards. And the idea here is, very simply, it tells you which tiles you need. So if I zoom in a little bit more, in fact, you've already got it there, zoom in a little bit more. So there are tiny indicators here that tell you the actual tile numbers that are required to play this particular episode. So they are all denoted. And obviously they are identified as an A or B, so 29A, 31B, etc. And then it also tells you the number of baddies, enemies that you're going to have for this particular episode as well. So you're going to have, you're going to start with 4 cultists on the board, but cultists are numbered by the number of miniatures that are in the box. So yeah, and again, you know, if you want to play on extreme difficult mode for yourself, you can of course mix this up with the season 1, and you will have double the amount of cultist pool that you could be pulling from. Yeah, if that is so your desire. So we've got 2 ghasts featuring here and here. We have 1 unnameable on the board. We have locations for the portals, so the yellow, red, blue portals. This is where we'll be starting, and then when you see it all laid out, it all kind of makes sense. You go, oh yeah, because this is where we're inside, and then there's a bit outside and stuff like that. So yeah, it works really, really well. And then on the back we have a repeat of the information we just read through on the back of the episode box, so this main story itself, and then it goes into more details on actually what is it we are needing to do in order to achieve success for this particular episode. So we need to disrupt the ritual. So as I mentioned, there are cultists here doing their bidding to try and summon an older one. So we need to have 4 jurors in the town square with their innocent side face up, so they agree that Petronilla is innocent, and therefore her spirit goes to rest. And when the elder one advances, move each juror with their guilty side face up 1 space away from the town square if possible. So they'll be the game will be working against you in terms of trying to achieve the disruption criteria. Special rules then: after the ritual is disrupted, remove all juror tokens from the board, so they're no longer impacting, and ignore any effects that would say affected juror, because they're no longer there. So as a scenario or episode action, we can gather the jurors, so move a juror in your space up to 2 spaces away, so you're trying to usher them all together in the town square, and then convince a juror, choose a juror in your space to make a roll. Add a success for each evidence you have, so item or companion, and then also on a 4 or more, plus the number of pieces of evidence that you have, then they're convinced that Petronilla is innocent, and then you can turn them over to the innocent side. So let's just have a look at those tokens. So these are the tokens that come in this particular episode. So we've got the town square, which you'll put in one of those locations, so denote very clearly where that is. We also have a pub, because where else a juror is going to go if they're not in the town square? Of course they're going to go to the pub. We have the guilty sides as red and the white sides as innocent. So these are representing your 4 jurors that you're trying to corral and convince of innocence. So that is the tokens you get alongside the main board. So yeah, so I'll just have a quick run through the episode cards that come for this particular episode. So these are develops the Mythos card. So after every time your investigator has acted, you'll draw a Mythos card. And this is the game retaliating and reacting to various things. So, Whispering Lines, each juror in the same space as a cultist is turned to the guilty side. So you see how the game is working against you. I need a drink. If there is any juror token in the town square, place one of them in the pub. See, told you, that's where they go, it's the pub. We've got the Ghast. So this has a Elder One icon, so 3 of these get stacked up as you're drawing them. That will trigger the Elder One moving forward on its timeline. So with the Ghast, you move the nearest Ghast 2 spaces towards you, then move one juror in its space 1 space away from the town square, and then you summon the Ghast. And for all of these, you will run through them in the order in which they are listed. So it may well be that actually you haven't got a Ghast on the board, so therefore you don't need to do that bit, but there are obviously going to be jurors on the board, so you will definitely do that bit, and then you will summon a Ghast, because you may have already defeated however many Ghasts there are as you start. We have Alice Cartella, so the investigator with the most evidence, items or companions, must take hexed condition side of one of them. So you will see that in a moment. I'll show you a couple of those. I don't want to dig too deep into those discovery cards, but I'll show you a couple. There are definitely going to be spoilers if we go too deep into those. So I will leave you to discover those on your own, should you choose to pick up this game, or maybe even see it played through in a recording either here or maybe somewhere else. So persecution, each cultist moves 1 space towards the town square, then summon 1 Ghast of the nearest space with a juror, and if there are no jurors on the board, then summon in your space instead. So obviously let's talk about the end game, when of course you've completed the ritual disruption. Ghostly energies, each investigator to space with a juror token takes 1 wound, and then each investigator loses 1 sanity for each hex condition that they have. So you see those hex conditions really are not a nice thing to have. We've got the Unnameable, moves 2 spaces towards you, any cultist spaces it leaves follow it, and then you will summon the Unnameable if it's not out on the board. And Ghastly Presence, move the Unnameable and each Ghast 1 space towards you, and then also summon another Ghast. So gives you an idea. This is what the game is going to be throwing at you as consequences as you're trying to complete the ritual disruption. So let's have a look. Ooh, well, that sounds yeah, here we go. Okay, let's have a look at a couple of these. So Sneaky Pete, that one there. So often I found with these, as you play, you get sort of the storyline of what's going on, and then as you go through these discovery cards, I love it because it always has a really twisted sense of humour, and there's generally some kind of additional plot that's happening and going on in the background, and I always find it very amusing when you sort of start stumbling across this stuff. And yeah, it is fantastically constructed and written, and yeah, another reason why it's my #1 game of all time. Okay, so Woman in White, a ghostly woman observes the other spirits in silence. You may take 2 stress to claim the Woman in White, and that's what I was saying about having to manage some of that resource that you have in your turn, in order to, when you come across a discovery, hopefully claim the benefits of that discovery. So companion in Woman in White, whilst you have her, gain 1 level in Arcane Mastery. So that was those tokens, tiles that I referred to earlier. And this companion cannot be given any wounds, so there's no life tokens on here. And what you would do is you would simply take this and you would just tuck it underneath your investigator board on this side showing. So that represents what you've got in addition to whatever's on your board. And there'll be other cards, which you'll see in a moment, that have stuff on this side, and that will be represented there. And then we have Bartender. Let's have a look. So I keep my chalet under the counter, good for walking and keeping unruly patrons civil. You may claim the Bartender, which would be over on this side, companion, the Bartender. At the end of your turn, if you are in the pub, take the Shillelagh this side of this card. Okay, so but in the meantime he has 1 health, so that's where I was saying you then swap this from this side of the board to this side of the board, and then the item, the Shillelagh, when you run, you may move 1 additional space. When attacking a target in your space, you gain 2 additional green dice to your attack. Very nice weapon to have, and of course gives you something of a kind of charge ability as well. Like I said, I'm not going to go through all of these, but this gives you a sense of how they work, the kind of things you're going to be finding. So items, companions, and some of these are, let me just see if I can find one with the hexed condition, so you can at least see how that works. He says now, and I'm struggling to find them. Here we go. Right, ritual knife. Let's just have a look at this one. Okay, best not think of the many uses that this has been put to. You may take 1 wound to claim the ritual knife, or if you do not, then you claim the hexed condition. So this is where, you know, if you've picked this up and you've only got 1 life left, and you can't afford to pay that wound, you are going to take the hex condition. So yeah, that's how that works. So let's have a look. So the item and evidence, ritual knife. When attacking, you may count on any number of tentacles as successes. They still also count as tentacles, so tentacles is pushing up your insanity. And if you don't have it and you opt to take the hex condition instead, whenever you gather jurors or convince a juror before resolving the action, take 1 stress. So, and that is stackable, of course. So the more hex conditions you have, the more stress you're going to have to be taking if you want to be convincing those jurors of Patronella's innocence, and therefore disrupting the ritual, which is absolutely key. So yeah, so the purpose of disrupting the ritual then is it enables you to bring the Elder One onto the board and then be able to attack the Elder One, and until such time as you've disrupted the ritual, the Elder One is invulnerable, cannot be attacked. So it is absolutely my words are failing me today, folks, apologies. Don't know, a requirement that you do it. Okay, so flipping heck. Oh, I hate it when you get that mind fog and you can't think of the word that you want. Anyway, okay, Isle of the Damned, Season 3, Episode 2. Let's have a look at this. So, Isle of the Damned, Season 3 and Episode 2. This small isle near Venice has been a haven for refugees and the sick since ancient times, but now it is our prison. They sent us here for madness, but the guards themselves are cultists ready to use the oncoming storm for a ritual. We must stop them. So again, you see, setting that scene, and then it gives you a glimpse, sneak peek of the contents that come within this box. Let's have a look and see what we have in Episode 2. And again, this is for me, this is absolutely the bang per buck here, folks, in terms of the variability, the capability to be able to mix and match all of this glorious content. Oh, love it. Okay, so these are the scenario enemies that we'll have. So we have Fisher from outside. Very bizarre looking creature. Okay, so 3 health, rolling a black and 2 green dice. After attacking or being attacked, for each star, elder sign, that the investigator takes 1 stress. Okay, and then we have a Dole, which has 7 health, and when it attacks, each success deals 2 damage or 2 wounds instead of 1. And it rolls a black and 2 green, same as the Fisher. Okay, we have our scenario layout. So you see here, and this is where we start to glean that glimpse of, you know, the variability that comes here, being able to mix and match all of these wonderful tiles. And again, it gives us then that glimpse and that view of the contents that we're going to require for this particular scenario. And then at the back, we have a reprise of the content of this episode that we just read, the storyline. So to disrupt the ritual, any investigator must enter the spire. That's it. That's all that's required. Very simple. Okay. When the Elder One advances, each investigator takes 1 stress for each cultist in the spire. If the ritual was disrupted, move each cultist 1 space towards you. Otherwise, move each cultist 2 spaces towards the spire and summon 1 cultist of the spire. Okay. Sounds like we're going to have a lot of cultists here, folks. Special rules. When an investigator kills a cultist, they draw a key token from the pile without looking at it. Place it face down on their investigator board. These tokens may be traded, but are always kept face down. If an investigator dies, shuffle the keys back into the pile. Only cultists can pass through the lock tokens. Okay. For other enemies and investigators, treat the passages as walls for all purposes whilst the tokens are present. Okay, so everything's locked up by the sound of this, because of course you're effectively in a prison. So open a door, choose a lock token in your space and 1 of the key tokens. Flip both face up. If the numbers on the tokens match, remove both tokens from the game. Otherwise, shuffle the key and the token back into the pile and flip the lock token face down. Aha, okay, so this is the challenge then. To get into the spire, you're going to have to unlock various rooms to get there. So we're starting here, and we're going to have to get to, where's the spire? Over here. Okay, so we can come down this way, and there's a locked room here and a locked room here. Or we can go up here through the courtyard, and then there'll be another locked room here. And I dare say there'll be things that we'll be trying to look for and attain in order to get to that. Okay, so choose a lock token in your space and 1 of the key tokens to open the door. Yes, we just did that one. And then start a riot. If there are no cultists in your space, make a roll. Gain an elder sign for each patient companion that you have. Move the nearest cultist, if more than 1, choose 1 space towards each towards you for each success. Okay, so that is very much you're doing a prison break. And then here are your tokens, as you've seen. So we've got obviously our keys and our locks. We have a mark for the spire and the courtyard, and then there we go. So they're all uniquely numbered, so we'll push those out, shuffle them up, and they will be present for us during this episode. And then we'll dig into the additional mythos cards that come with this particular episode, and then we'll have a sneaky peek look at some of the discovery cards that also come with this episode. So these are the discovery cards that come with episode 2, Isle of the Damned. And then we have, of course, our selection of mythos cards. So let's dig into those mythos cards first of all. So as I did with episode 1, I'll run through these and have a notion of what this episode will be throwing at us. Now we know what we're trying to do in terms of escaping the prison. So let's look. We have the doll. So we have the elder sign escalation. Move the doll 2 spaces towards you, and then summon the doll to the red portal. We have Fisher from outside. Again with the Elder One symbol, and move each Fisher to from outside 2 spaces towards you. If you have the paranoid condition, they move directly into your space. Ouch. Okay. And then the yellow portal, summon another Fisher, if available. A Restless Night, move each monster 1 space towards you. If the ritual is disrupted, move each cultist 1 space towards you. Otherwise, move them 1 space towards the spire. And then summon a Dale to the blue portal and a Fisher from outside to the red portal. Wow. Okay. Thunder. Each investigator with a paranoid condition token take paranoid condition takes 2 stress. So I'm guessing the paranoid condition is, of course, what we will discover in these discovery cards. Lightning. Each investigator in the courtyard makes a roll. They take 2 wounds unless they roll 2 or more successes. While other investigators take 1 stress. We have Lash Out. Each investigator takes 1 wound for each patient companion that they have. These wounds can't be given to the companion. Investigators may take the paranoid condition side of the patient companion to prevent all wounds. Have ceremonial procession. So if the ritual is disrupted, move each cultist 2 spaces towards you. Otherwise, move them 2 spaces towards the spire. And finally, lockdown. Move to the courtyard. Enemies do not follow. Then move each monster 1 space towards you. So you're instantly moved. Okay. Very interesting. Again, just getting that sense of how the game will absolutely be working against you as you're trying to complete the ritual disruption. And again, we'll just have a look at a couple of the discovery cards. Just double check. Yeah, it is interesting. So interestingly, this one does include the same woman in white that we saw with the episode 1. So that's quite interesting. So I'm going to skip over that one. Let's have a look at one such patient. The maddened patient. Gibbering and drooling eyes, unblinking, speaking possible words. You may take 1 wound to claim the maddened patient. If you do not, then claim the paranoid condition. So the maddened patient would situate themselves on the right-hand side of your board. Carl, the maddened patient, at the end of your turn, take 1 stress because you're carrying a maddened patient around with you. Alternatively, you can take the condition paranoia. And at the end of your turn, if you are in the courtyard, take the patient companion side of this card. Otherwise, take 1 stress and lose 1 sanity. Wow. Okay. So, have a look at one of the items in the discovery set. We'll move on to episode 3. The medical bag. Everything you need to patch yourself up, or at least deaden the pain. You may claim the medical bag or discard it to heal all of your wounds. Medical bag, once per turn as a free action, heal 1 wound from you or 1 other investigator in your space. Wow, very useful, that one. Okay, so that's enough of a sneaky peek into episode 2 and the Isle of the Damned. That back away in its episodic box, and we'll have a look at episode 3. So there's the artwork for episode 3, Deliver Us from Evil. And here are the contents. So, Deliver Us from Evil, episode 3. Beneath the streets of Paris lie vast catacombs, hearkening back to even before the city was founded. It is here that a band of cultists have erected a large bone altar, the perfect beacon to catch the eye of their patron Elder One. And for some reason, the appointed hour is 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. The cultists must be eradicated and altar dismantled, and the bones laid back to rest. And it's a glimpse of that sense of humour. Oh, it's 2 p.m. on a Wednesday. Ah, very good. Yes. Opposed to the usual midnight escapades that, of course, cultists are wont to entertain. So we have a picture of the picture, And of course, on the flip side, we have the episode enemies. So we have Gya, Yatten. So we have 3 green dice and 1 black dice when attacking, 4 life and 2 to the monster pool. When it attacks, it heals 1 for each elder sign rolled. And then we have a doll, which we've seen already, so 7 life, 1 to the monster pool, and when it attacks, each success deals 2 wounds instead of 1. So we've seen him before. Okay, this is the layout of the map then for this particular episode. So we'll be starting here and working our way through the catacombs. We have some grave tokens that we'll have, some bones, as well as gates. We'll have 1 Gya-Yotten, the doll, and of course cultists to join us. Okay, so here is a reprise of the story. So to disrupt the ritual, deconstruct the bone altar and place all 6 bones on graves. When the Elder One advances, each investigator would suffer the effects of the bones they are carrying in any order. Investigators without a bone takes 1 stress. Special rules: each investigator may only have 2 bones at a time. Bones cannot be traded. If an investigator with a bone dies, place their bone tokens back in the altar room, face down, bottom of the altar stack. Deconstruct the altar is a special action for this particular episode. At the altar room, if you can have another bone, take a bone from the top of the altar stack and reveal it, and then suffer its effects straight away, and then place it in next to your investigator board, and then laying a bone to rest while you are in a space with a grave and have a bone, make a roll. If you get more successes than the number of bones already in that space, place 1 bone you have there. So there's potentially the option of being able to, so as you can see here in the map, here's all the bones, and then here are the graves that we can get to. I'm not quite sure what's happening here. It's just floating around. Very bizarre. 4 graves. 1, 2, 3. I think that 4 should be on there somewhere. I don't know if that's a typo. I don't know if it's supposed to be in here, perhaps. Interesting. There'll be an FAQ on that somewhere. Anyway, talking of which, these are, of course, the graves and the bones. So bones are: take a stress, take 2 stress, lose 2 sanity, lose a sanity, take a wound, catch fire. Hot bone. The flip side of those, and of course the altar room, which will add to that tile location. So let's have a look at the mythos cards that will be imposing their will upon us as we try to lay these bones to rest. If I can get in. Dear me. Oops. Is that enough? Indeed. Oop. Kind of. Okay, so let's have a look at the mythos cards for this episode. Gya-Yotten. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so move each Gya-Yotten 1 space towards you. If you have a bone, they move 2 spaces instead, and then summon a Gya-Yotten. The doll. With the doll 1 space towards you, if you are on a grave, move the doll directly into your space and then summon a doll. Altar calling, move each monster 1 space towards the altar room and then summon a Gyal and a doll. The sound of silence, each investigator in a space with no other figures takes 2 stress. Vile altar, each investigator suffers the effects of the bones that they are carrying in any other order. The investigators without a bone take 1 stress. Altar of madness. Each investigator loses 2 sanity if they are in a space with a bone. either carried by the investigator or on graves or on the altar. They are protecting it! If there are no monsters on the board, summon a Garyotten on the altar room. Otherwise, move the monster nearest to the altar room to that space. If it enters a space with an investigator, that investigator suffers the effects of the bones that they are carrying in any order, or take 1 stress if they have no bones. If the walls are closing in, move 1 space towards the starting space. Enemies follow. If you have a claustrophobic condition, move 2 spaces instead. So they are what we will be dealing with from the episode stack of this particular storyline. And we'll have a sneaky peek look at a couple of the discoveries that we can expect to be encountering. Oops, there we go. As we play through this episode. And again, this woman in white appears again. There's definitely a theme here, folks. Definitely a theme. And I think I vaguely recall there was something of a similar ilk in one of the previous seasons. Okay, so woman in white. For this particular episode, in terms of the unique discovery cards, then we have a pocket knife. Not exactly a primary weapon, but a handy tool and a knife in the dark. Okay, you may take 2 stress to claim the pocket knife. If you cannot claim the pocket knife, you gain the claustrophobic condition. So the pocket knife on this side of your player board, slide under. When attacking, gain an extra green dice, and if you have stealth, you may gain 2 instead. Alternatively, if you're dealing with the claustrophobic condition, when you claim this card, move 3 spaces towards a starting space. Enemies will follow you. And we'll do one more school trip. Oh, this is going to be delightful, isn't it? Because, of course, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday. Of course there's going to be a school trip going on. Lost, wandering, afraid and alone, you are much alike, are you not? You may claim the student, Harry the student. At the end of your turn, if you have both Harry and Minerva, take the other side of both cards. The item is a locket. Once per turn, as a free action, you may heal 2 stress for rescuing 2 children. Love it. And that's what I mean about the sense of humour that does come with these discovery cards. I'm always keen not to, just flash them all around. And you may, as I have done, find that actually as you play through a particular episode, you don't get to glean all of the discovery cards. And of course, then it means you will have more information that you can glean and get to enjoy as you play on repeat and venture into the episode once more. So we're having a look. I've dived straight into opening this box. Apologies, I'm being distracted by my front door camera, which you may hear in the background, so apologies. Okay, this is The Request of the Queen, episode 4. So let's have a look. By Request of the Queen, episode 4. The semi-mythical home of Vlad the Impaler is everything you might expect from a Gothic castle. Soaring columns, blood-red trappings, and gargoyles everywhere. Queen Marie of Romania has made its restoration her life's work. Unfortunately, cultists have also made it theirs. And the place is perfectly primed for a ritual of ungodly power. Okay, so we get a sneaky peek at the contents of the box. So let's have a look at those contents. So we begin, of course, with a wonderful artwork, A Request of the Queen. And we have the monsters or enemies that we'll be facing. We have a Ghast, which you've seen before, and new one, Gug, is one of the newer enemies that we'll be facing off against. So Gug gains a green when attacking if it has any wounds. So it has 5 health. You don't want to be leaving this thing wandering around with wounds on it, because it will gain extra dice to attack you with. Okay, that's a new one for us. Let's have a look at the map. There we go. So again, a very different layout. So we'll be starting here in the centre. So we have options to come down here and do something, and options to come up here, down here. Okay. So we've got some targets. Includes a tunnel, so you can go from here to here. We've got cultist, 1 gug, 1, 2 ghasts. We have sulphur, salt, pepper, and charcoal. 4 of each start off the board, so they're up here. Okay. And then out on the board we have 1 of each placed ready, maybe in a stash there perhaps. Okay. So we've done the story. Let's have a look how to disrupt this ritual. So blow up the 3 spaces with target tokens by turning over their tiles. Okay. Each investigator with a bloodthirsty condition takes 1 wound. Then each investigator takes 1 stress for each ingredient they have. If an investigator has all 3 ingredients, they take 2 wounds instead. Okay, special rules. Investigators cannot hold 2 or more of the same ingredient. Okay, if an investigator dies, discard their ingredient tokens. Discarded ingredient tokens are available to collect again. When a space blows up, turn its tile over, connecting the passages. Any figure there are killed except the elder one. Any tunnel token there is discarded, and a destroyed token is placed in the new space. Okay, so actions that we can undertake then is collect an ingredients. If in the same space as an ingredient, stash, gain 1 of that ingredient token and place it on your investigator board. Ingredient tokens may be traded. And then boom, while adjacent to a space with a target token, if you have 3 ingredients, all 3 ingredients, discard them and that space blows up. Then catch 4 fire. What? If you have arcane mastery, catch 2 fire instead. Okay, thanks for that then. Okay, so these are the 3 target tokens that we'll be putting out on the board, and on their flip side, that is an explosion. The damaged, gone, boom, dead. Okay, and here we go. So these are the squares that we saw on the map. This is where we can attain the ingredients, and these are the actual ingredient tokens. Okay, and the same on the back. Okay, so let's have a look at the Mythos cards come with this episode. I can get in. Get in. And we're in. Almost. Okay. So, Mythos cards include the Ghast. Move each Ghast 1 space towards you. If you have bloodthirsty condition, they move 2 spaces instead and summon a Ghast at the red portal. The Gug. Move each Gug 1 space towards you, then each Gug takes 1 wound and deals 1 wound to each other figures in its space. And summon a Gug. On the hunt. Move the nearest Gug 2 spaces towards you, then summon a Gug and a Ghast. The Hunger. Each investigator with a bloodthirsty condition deals 1 wound to another figure in its space. Okay. If there aren't any, that investigator takes 1 wound and 1 stress instead. So you want to be cautious of standing too close to your colleagues if they have the bloodthirsty condition. Each investigator takes 1 stress for each ingredient that they have. Then each investigator in a space with an ingredient stash takes 1 wound. Ooh, volatile. Okay. From the rubble, summon a Ghast in each destroyed space, if any, and then each Ghast moves 1 space towards you. So hopefully you get that one out earlier on in the game. Slip through the fingers. Make a roll for each insanity rolled, you lose 1 sanity and must discard an ingredient. And finally, the Blood Moon. Each investigator of bloodthirsty condition heals 1 wound and takes 2 stress. Other investigators take 1 wound. Okay, so they are the mythos cards that we'll be encountering in this particular episode. Oops. Okay. Now this one. And we'll have a look at a couple of these. And oh, lo and behold, we have another woman in white. Definitely a theme here, folks. Definitely a theme. Okay, Lord of the Castle. So, the founder and ruler, his infamy is well earned. You may take 2 stress and 2 wounds to claim the Lord of the Castle, Vlad, Lord of the Castle. If you do not claim the bloodthirsty condition. Okay. So, when investigating, you may claim companions without taking stress or wounds. Nice. So he's definitely worth having as part of your entourage. Otherwise, you take the bloodthirsty condition at the end of your turn. If you didn't perform an attack this turn, you must take 1 stress. That gives you an idea of what that does. And we'll do, 1 more. Pale Servants. Polite and deferential. Sorry. Put my eyes in. With the most remarkable pallor. You may take 1 stress and 1 wound to claim a Pale Servants. If you do not, claim the bloodthirsty condition. Pale Servants, when you attack, if you deal any wounds, you may heal 1 wound. If you have the Pale Servants with you. So, to the sneaky peek, and I won't, as I say before with the others, venture further. I can only begin to imagine and guess what will be discovered, quite literally, as you venture into this particular episode by Quest of the Queen. So, we are then into the Festival of Death, episode 5. Whoop. Ooh, it's quite a bit in here. So, the glorious artwork on the front. Oh, sorry, let's get those out of the way for you. Okay. Of course, a cabaret tent circus turning up in town. So, let's have a look. Festival of Death, episode 5. What seems a simple town festival put on by a travelling circus is actually a cultist ritual in disguise. The games and puzzles offered by these carny cultists are intended to fuel their vast summoning ritual. Expect many accidental deaths along the way. It's up to us to poison the well, as it were, by playing these games ourselves and disrupting the summoning. Oh, that sounds fun. Okay, so what have we got? Oh, we've got lots of goodies in this one. Okay, let's have a look and start as we always have. Festival of Death. Monsters. These are the enemies we'll be encountering. Ooh. We've got a new one, the Serpent Man. Of course. So, 3 dice, 2 black, 1 green. And when it attacks, each tentacle also counts as a success. And it has only 2 hit points, but adds 5 to the Wandering Monster pool. And Gyar Jotun, as we've seen before. So 4 dice, when it attacks, it heals 1 for every Elder Sign rolled. Okay. I seem to have put everything away. Okay. So I tell you what, let's have a look. Let's change this one up now. So we've seen the story. Let's have a look. How are we going to disrupt this ritual? Investigators must win twice each of the 3 games. 6 total wins. Okay. When the Elder One advances, move each townsfolk 2 spaces towards you. Then place 1 random discarded townsfolk face down on each game that still has any award tokens. If not enough, discarded townsfolk tokens. Choose which of these games to place them on. Okay, so special rules. Game of Fortune. If you have 2 or more drunk condition, discard 1 to win. Okay. Game of Strength. Make a roll. Gain 2 green, and you may take wounds instead of stress for this roll. If you get 5+ successes, you win. And Game of Skill. Position a green die touching this space. Flick it. If it lands touching the space with the target, you win. You may rearrange other components before flicking as long as they remain in the same spaces. Okay, so play a game. While in a space with a game and no townsfolk, play the corresponding game. If you win, gain a reward. Okay, and then shoo townsfolk. Move each townsfolk on your space up to 2 spaces away. Shoo, shoo, shoo. I want to play a game. Okay, so let's have a look at what we have. So we're going to be starting over here. We have a game here. Is it a game? Yeah, a game here, a game here, a game here. And this is the target we were referencing for that particular game we were talking about. And we have 2 trophies with each of these that we can win. We need to gather 6 trophies, 2 from each game, in order to disrupt the ritual. Okay, that is what we are looking at. So let's have a quick look at those tokens. Interesting. So we've got the bullseye for the particular games. Oh, look, there you go. Okay, yep, makes sense. On the other side, these are the townsfolk. Okay, not entirely sure why when you flip the townsfolk over, they turn into baddies. Is that what we covered off? Is that what it said? Is that what it said? I wonder. I think we're going to see these. There we go. And there's our awards that we are trying to win. I think the flip side of those townsfolk tokens are what we are now going to venture into as we have a look at the Mythos deck. I think that's going to add an explanation to those tokens, but we will see. Hey, we will see. Let's have a look. So, Serpent Man. Oop. Okay, move each Serpent Man 1 space towards you, then move each townsfolk 1 space towards their nearest game that still has any award tokens. If none, then towards you, and then summon a Serpent Man. We have Gyar Jotun. Move each Gyar Jotun 2 spaces toward you. Any townsfolk in spaces it leaves, follow it. And then summon a Gyar Jotun. Game of Death. Discard and reveal the nearest townsfolk. Summon the corresponding enemy in the same space. Okay, and then summon a Serpent Man. Celebration. Move each townsfolk 2 spaces towards a Game of Fortitude. Then discard and reveal 1 townsfolk of the game Fortitude space, if any. Summon the corresponding enemy there. The corresponding enemy being, of course, what is on the flip side of their token. From near and far, discard and reveal the 2 nearest townsfolk. Summon, okay, and then summon the corresponding enemies in their corresponding spaces. Place 2 random discarded townsfolk tokens face down at the starting space. Feast. The nearest monster moves directly to the nearest townsfolk. Then, discard and reveal each townsfolk there. Each investigator takes 1 stress for each cultist token and 1 wound for each Serpent Man token discarded in this way. A new game begins! The nearest townsfolk moves directly to your space. Then, discard and reveal each townsfolk in your space. Summon the corresponding enemies there. Then move each townsfolk 2 spaces towards the nearest game that still has a reward, if none, towards you. And finally, leader bashing. Move each monster and townsfolk one space towards the investigator with the most awards, if tied, the one nearest to them. And then summon a Serpent Man and a Jotun. Okay, so they are the Mythos cards that we'll be encountering for this episode. We'll have a look at a couple of the discoveries we will find in this wonderful menagerie of tent. Beyond, of course, the woman in white. Stein! A fine container for a potent brew. You may claim the Stein. When attacking, gain an extra green die. As a free action, you may take the drunk side of this card. Aha! So, condition. When you claim or take this card, heal 1 stress. While you have this condition, all of your skills are treated as level 1. When you rest, you may also discard 1 of your conditions. That's what that is. And then let's have a look at, I think they're all drunk conditions. Let's have a look at free trial, 1 extra. Okay, so the first one is at no charge. You may claim the free trial ticket. Discard this card to perform a free play a game action. There it is, folks. That is a sneaky peek into the discovery cards that come with episode 5, Festival of Death. Which reminds me of it actually of, I mean, it's clearly is very different, but Ray Bradbury did enjoy that the circus. Something wicked this way comes. The circus comes to town, and of course, there's something not quite right. And it is, of course, in traditional Ray Bradbury style with his Total Recall, a child who leads the charge. Anyway, I'm going to butcher this. Die Schön und das Biest, Season 3, Episode 6. I picked up the multi-pack. No, the multilingual pack by accident. No, this is not the case. A beautiful Bavarian castle. Haunted, of course. A jealous husband. An unfaithful wife. Murder. Death. Strange noises from the caverns below even. A woman in white. Stalks the halls on silent steps. It's a mystery wrapped within an enigma. Your allies will be vital to your success or key to your failure. Okay, so let's have a look at what we're going to encounter in this one. So we have, of course, our card with the wonderful episodic artwork on. And, oh, there she is. Look, there is the woman in white, who's actually a bit green in this instance. So we'll be venturing with more Serpent Men and Fishers from Outside. So we've covered those already in our reviewings. So let's have a look at the story first of all, and then we'll venture into the map. So to disrupt the ritual, have an investigator with the woman in white companion on the pit while there are 7 meat tokens there. Okay? When the Elder One advances, summon 1 cultist at the starting space and 1 at the forest. Then, each investigator takes 2 stress. For each stress that they cannot take, they lose 1 sanity instead. And in special rules, when an investigator kills a cultist, they gain a meat token. Lovely. And place it on their investigator board. Meat tokens may be traded. If an investigator takes any wounds from an enemy attack or dies for any reason, they discard all meat tokens that they have. Well, that is unfortunate. Okay, so look for the woman in white is an action. Look at the top 2 cards of the discovery deck. You may take 1 stress to put any of these cards on the bottom of the discovery deck. Put the rest on top in any order. And then feed the beast at the pit. Place on your space any number of meat tokens you have. Okay, so here is the map So here is the pit. And here is something else, which I can't quite see. The forest. Yes, they made reference to that, of course. There it is. So we have a chalice here. With lots of tokens. And our meat, of course, is feet and hands from the cultists we are killing. Oh, how grim. Okay, so they are the tokens that come with this, and of course fish from the outside, and a serpent man, and multiple cultists we will be butchering in order to feed the pit and disrupt the ritual. Okay, so love it. As I said, folks, I love the humour, I love the story. I could sense there was definitely a clear building up throughout the episodes to the woman in white. And now you see. Okay, Mythos cards. Let's have a look. What have we got? Fisher outside. Move each Fisher outside 2 spaces towards the nearest investigator with a meat token. If no investigator with a meat token towards it, you instead, and then summon Fisher from outside. We have the Serpent Man. Move the nearest Serpent Man 3 spaces towards you. Move each other Serpent Man 1 space towards you and summon a Serpent Man. Summon Serpent Man 2 of, I'm guessing, because it's the red and the blue. Okay, I think, maybe. They're coming! Move each enemy 1 space towards you. And then summon a Serpent Man and a Fisher from outside. Unholy ritual. Each investigator with a ghost companion takes 2 stress. Each investigator with a meat token loses 2 sanity. Because you're carrying somebody's arm and leg. Rumblings from the pit. Each monster moves 1 space towards the pit. If there are fewer meat tokens in the pit from the number of spaces advanced of the summoning track, then each investigator takes a wound. Reinforcements! Summon cultists at the starting space until there are 4 cultists on the board. If there are 4 or more on the board already, then no cultists summoned. Lost! Move to the forest. Enemies do not follow. Then take 2 stress. And finally, digestion. Discard 1 meat token from the pit. Oh dear. Of course, you're then going to have to massacre another cultist in order to fulfill the pit's quota. Okay. And ooh, a new discovery card for the woman in white. This is what, of course, you are searching for. Woman in white, the ghost of a woman, one of many, or is this one unique? Make a roll. If you get 5 or more success, claim the woman in white. If you do not, shuffle this card and all cards from the discard pile containing a ghost back into the discovery deck. Wowza. Okay. Woo, this is going to be difficult. Woman in white, while you have her gain 1 level in Arcane Mastery, this companion cannot be given wounds, as we saw with the original iterations of her. So, other cards include the Ghost of Mary. A ghostly guide to her haunted domain. You may take 1 wound to claim the Ghost of Mary. Companion Ghost, Mary. When rolling the claim woman in white, gain an extra green. Nice. So you're trying to get 5 successes or more. Ah, okay. If you start your turn in the forest, you have 1 extra action for that turn. Nice. And let's have a... Dare I show this? Okay. Meat grinder. A way to process that which you've harvested. You may take 2 stress to claim the meat grinder. If you do not, claim the tormented condition. Meat grinder. As a free action, you may discard a meat token to heal 2 wounds and lose 1 sanity. Because, of course, you're eating somebody's foot or arm. Or alternatively, you take the tormented. At the end of your turn, take 1 stress. If you cannot take it, you lose 1 sanity instead. Okay, so macabre most foul. Love it, love it. Okay, so there is a detailed view of the 6 episodes that come with this new core box for Cthulhu Death May Die, which is of course season 3, and they are labelled as such, but you can buy this box and play it completely standalone. You do not have to have anything beyond that. Oh my gosh, what's to dig into next? We have lots of cards and more cards. Oh. Okay, before we delve into the new stuffs. That's new stuffs. That's new stuffs. Let's have a look at the new patient medical files, which of course are our turn that on. There we go. Patient medical files. These, of course, are our Insanities, because one of the key features with this game inevitably is we all start insane. Of course, this is the only way the fact that we tapped into the tumultuous cultists' activities, their nefarious. Oh. Try not to damage the damn cards. That's proving to be very difficult for some reason to try and get this flipping packaging open. That's very annoying. I really don't like these ridiculously tight vacuum sealed decks of cards. Okay, here we go. Okay, I don't think it was a piece of card I was trimming off. I think it was just the plastic. It was just difficult to see. Okay, that's fine. Right, so bugbear of mine. Let's have a look. Megalomania. That'll be mine, I think. So let's have a look. So, if there's no other investigator alive that has reached more sanity or insanity than you, heal all of your stress. Otherwise, take 2 stress. Okay. I love the artwork of these. Troubling fugue. You must move to a space that is 2 spaces away from your current space. If possible, enemies will follow you. Okay. Overcaring. If you're protected, at the start of the game, name a protected investigator. Okay, this is the only one that has that so far. Yes, okay. So at the start of the game, name a protected investigator. So that's the one that you're overcaring about. If your protected is in your space, they heal all wounds and you heal all of your stress. Otherwise, take 1 stress for each wound your protected has. If they are dead, nothing happens. You'll be glad to know. Okay. Autophobia. If there's at least 1 other investigator in your space, heal all your stress. Otherwise, take 2 stress. Then heal 1 stress for each companion you have. Okay. When you reach a insanity, put 1 wound token on this card before resolving it. Compulsive accumulating. If you have less items and companions and a number of tokens on this card, take stress equal to the difference. Otherwise, heal all of your stress. Nice. Impulsive aggression. I'm just amused by the artwork. Loving it. If there are no enemies in your space, you and each investigator in your space take 1 wound. Otherwise, deal wounds equal to the amount of stress that you have to 1 enemy in your space. Hallucinations. If there are no monsters in your space, move the nearest monster to your space. Otherwise, move one monster in your space 1 or 2 spaces away. What? And finally, each time you kill an enemy, put a wound token on this card. You suffer from bloodlust. If there are less than 2 tokens on this card, take 2 stress. Otherwise, remove all tokens on this card and heal 1 stress per token removed. Excellent. So they are the new Insanities that come with this season. Of course, you can get added, mixed in with all the original Insanities if you have that content as well, which is great. I think it was one of those things actually that was probably one of the bigger complaints with the original content was not enough Insanities. So they have added more, which is always fantastic. And then I have actually noticed we had on one of the boxes, I think the stretch goals box, there was on the front taped on some additional cards which included more Insanities to add to our array, which is great. Okay, I'm going to pause for a moment because the dog is out and I need to log in, and I'll be back to the table in just a moment. So, in addition to the episodes, mixing up that variability in the gameplay, there is, as was referenced at the beginning, this new side expansion that is now available to add to make the game that bit more difficult. So we have this unknown monsters, or for those that were into D&D some time ago, growing up like myself, wandering monsters. So you'll notice that each of them has its own unique icon here. So you have an icon for this particular, whichever will sit in this slot, and an icon for the monster to sit in this slot. And so what you have then is this additional deck of unknown monster cards. And this deck not only covers all of the monsters that come in this box, but also all of the monsters that come in Season 1 and Season 2. So we'll get things like the Fire Vampire, the Elder Thing, the Hound of Tyndall's, etc., etc. So you do have all of these. So these are, of course, the new ones that come. And these are all just the same on the back. Yeah, so the idea is you can shuffle these up and you can randomize. The only catch is you need to make sure, obviously, these are not the same enemies that you've got featured already on the episode. So we've got Serpent Man, their particular criteria, Gug. And then what you would do with these is you would use those tokens where you've got the portals, you randomize where these spawn from, and then you would have additional cards, which I'll just show you in a moment, that as you're drawing the Mythos cards, would then randomize at what point would these activate. So this is all of the monsters that we've seen now in these episodes we've just been looking at. We've got these from the original Cthulhu Death May Die Season 1 core box. And then we start to then get into the additional expansion content that came with the original Kickstarter campaign. And all their various mechanisms. And again, you'll see on them that they have, when the Elder One advances, mechanisms. So that's another way that they activate, not just when you happen to draw one of their particular cards. So you do have a good stack of those unknown monsters that you can add in. And then, as I mentioned, these are the mythos cards, the unknown behavior mythos cards that get shuffled in. So there's 4 of them. So you'll see the backs are exactly the same as your normal mythos cards. And then on the flip side, you'll see it will have, there you go, the move the nearest monster that's relevant to the icon on here. So either this one or this one. In relevance to the investigator that turn it is when they've pulled this card. And that monster moves 1 space towards, and then this icon here represents then drawing another card. And obviously at that point you may draw another one of these. And you've just got very simple 2 for each of those. One is 1 space, one is 2 spaces. So you've got those 2 for the unknown monster at the top, and those 2 for the unknown monster at the bottom. And the monster moves 2 spaces or 1 space. And of course you can make it slightly less aggressive should you desire, and rather than having the 2 unknown monsters, you can flip it over and have just the 1 unknown monster. So maybe it's your first time using unknown monsters, and so you want to kind of ease into that experience. Perhaps, you know, that's totally feasible and doable, and what you need has been included in the box to enable you to do that. Apologies, I'm messing with my camera. Okay, so that's what you get with those in terms of the unknown monsters and what they look like and how they operate. And so then transversely, in the same way as they are making the game more difficult, there is of course a reciprocal mechanism to make the game easier. And of course, depending on how comfortable, confident you are with the game, etc., you could choose to just add these in to make the game easier. You could choose to not have these and just add in 2 unknown monsters and make the game all that more difficult. But these are quite exciting. I really like the idea of these. These are relics. So you shuffle these up and you randomly give 1 relic to each of the players. And the idea of the relic is it gives you an extra ability, a bit like a skill, but it's completely unique to each of these. So it's just another level of variability. So for example, Sinister Book. Once per turn, when making any roll, you may count any number of Elder signs as both 1 success and an insanity. It stops counting as an Elder sign. Okay. And then the notion with all these relics is there'll be a point in your characters, your investigators' insanity progress, where they'll become convinced that this sinister book is much more potent and powerful than it actually is. And the notion is then at that point, as they've lost their insanity, as far as they're concerned, they are now carrying the Necronomicon. And of course, the Necronomicon is a very powerful book. Now, when making any roll, you may count any number of Elder Scrolls as both 2 successes and a insanity. So it suddenly becomes that much more powerful. So as you go on, you'll see this theme as you go. So the idea is that when you get to these 3 points up your insanity track on your investigator card, that is the point then when this flips and becomes that more powerful. You're convicted it's a much more powerful item. So you start off with a Jade Amulet. Once during your turn, as a free action, you may move 1 enemy from your space up to 2 spaces away. And then suddenly you're convinced it's no longer just a Jade Amulet, it's a Haunted Amulet. And up to 3 times during your turn, wow, as a free action, you may move 1 enemy from your space up to 2 spaces away. Very powerful stuff. We have the Relic Blade. So you gain 1 green die when attacking a target in your space, and suddenly it becomes Excalibur as your insanity continues to degrade, and now you gain 2 green dice when attacking a target in your space. We have the rune carved spear. Once per turn, if you kill an enemy during an attack, you may immediately attack again for free. And then becomes the Gungnir. If you kill an enemy during an attack, you may immediately attack again for free. That free attack cannot trigger this ability again. Interesting. If you kill an enemy, you may immediately attack. If you kill an enemy during an attack, you may immediately attack again for free. If you kill an enemy during an attack. Okay, so the difference is once per turn if you kill an enemy. This one removes that restriction, but you can't trigger it again if you kill another enemy. It doesn't. Although it's interesting, it doesn't say that on that side. Okay. The Shiny Jewel. So gain 1 level in your signature skill. So as I mentioned, every investigator has their own unique signature skill. And it becomes the Shining Trapezohedron. Okay. Gain 1 additional level in your signature skill, 2 in total. So that's another. So you go up another level on your signature skill. We have an Ancient Idol. So once per turn, when you would take wounds, you may prevent those wounds and lose the same number of sanity instead. This sanity loss cannot be prevented or reduced, and it becomes a relay fragment instead, at which point when you would take wounds you may prevent those wounds and lose the same number of sanity. Your sanity loss cannot be prevented or reduced. I'm going to have to read that one again because that didn't make sense to me. Again, it's the once per turn when you take any wounds versus now it's just carte blanche whenever you take any wounds. Okay, that's how that works. We have a lucky coin. You have 1 free reroll per turn, and it becomes a charmed doubloon. And you have 1 free reroll per roll. Wow. Okay. I have the mysterious key. You gain a green die if you are in a space with a gate, and when you run you may move between spaces with gates as if they were adjacent, but enemies follow, and it becomes the silver key. You gain a green die if you are within 2 spaces of a gate. Wow. And when you run you may move between the gates as if they were adjacent and enemies still follow you. Okay. The Ritual Mask. If there's only 1 enemy in your space, you are considered in a safe space for all purposes. The enemy doesn't attack you. Versus the Ineffable Mask. If there are 2 or fewer enemies in your space, you are considered to be safe, and the enemies don't attack you. Nice. We have a Crystal Ball. During your turn, keep the top card of the Mythos deck revealed until you draw it for the turn. Once during your turn, as a free action, you may take 1 stress to place it at the bottom of the deck and reveal the next card as a once per turn action. And then it becomes the Orb of Fate. During your turn, keep the top card of the Mythos deck face up. Twice during your turn, as a free action, you may take 1 stress to place it at the bottom of the deck and reveal the next card. We have Brass Compass. When you run, you may run may move 2 additional spaces, and it becomes the otherworldly compass. And when you run, you may move 2 additional spaces, and you may sneak past an enemy up to 3 additional times. It doesn't follow you. And then finally, last but not least, the Ruby Talisman. Once per roll, before rolling dice, you may catch 1 fire. If you do, gain a green die. Okay. Which becomes a Fiery Talisman. Once per roll before rolling dice, you may catch 1 fire. If you do, gain a green die. If you would take wounds from fire, you may instead deal that many wounds to 1 enemy in your space. Nice. Okay. Great when you're being surrounded. So, brand new inclusion into the game, Relics. Really liked the idea of those when I saw those during the Kickstarter. Excited to get those to the table. What do we do now? Let's have a look at everything's taped together. So let's have a look at some of these goodies, shall we? Because we've already covered, of course, lots of these bad guys now. So we've seen these guys in our various episodes that we've gone through. Just remove the tape. And I have to say, compliment CMON on their inserts that they came up with for both the original Cthulhu Death May Die and this new one as well. It is very well thought through. It's very well put together. There's as little waste as there can be from a vacuum pack storage solution. And they've certainly optimized what they can and tried to keep everything as accessible as possible in terms of genuinely being able to get this stuff to the table and experience the gameplay. And again, they did the same in the original boxes, and I really appreciate that. So, that wasn't a great noise. Let's dig into some of this content. So, a bit of boring stuff first of all. So we've got some tokens, and as I said, one of the things that I did really appreciate actually about these, the tentacles, the player tentacles that you use to track on your investigator board, and the matching discs that the investigator clips into. Not rubberized, these are hard plastic. Would have preferred rubberized, but again, appreciate production costs and all that. But I really like the fact that these are different colours to what came in the original box. So you do have the potential to mix and match all of these together and have a nice array of different player colours. Of course, you do get your 8 dice from the core box. For me personally, don't get me wrong, they're dice, right? They work. You roll them, they give you the symbols that you need to make a decision, determine what's happened. Okay, for me, these are not a spot on, and I did buy these, and I have these for my other Cthulhu Death May Die, the frosted dice, and it struck me as bizarre beyond fathomability that you could buy an extra set of standard dice for $10, or you could buy on the Kickstarter an extra set of frosted dice for $10. And I appreciate this. This doesn't really come through on the green screen, right? But the colour of these and the delight of using these frosted dice over the normal dice, it's worlds of difference. It really is, folks. and that may just be me. Okay, I'm an eye candier, right? I like my eye candy. It makes a difference for me in terms of gameplay, but really do make a difference. Love it. Okay. Enough of that. Let's have a look at some of the baddies that we've had unveiled to us. So, we have our serpent men. Oh. My camera seems to have dropped off for some reason. Seems to have frozen. Bear with me. Apologies. Okay, so we are back. Apologies for that. Not quite sure what happened there. But we have got the green screen back on. So, and in fact, put my hand there. You can see it probably a bit better. So this is, of course, the Serpent Man in all his glory. Do quite like that. In fact, let me just see if I can. Oh, there you go. Right. Does that work? Probably not. Probably not as well as I'd hoped. There you go. But at least you get an idea of. Again, it was very detailed. Bit of a gap around the head. I'll fill that in. The neck. Yeah, not quite sure what's going on with the camera. It seems to be flickering in and out. Apologies for that. There it goes again. Okay, so that's the Serpent Man. So we get 5 of those. So it could be spawning at any one time on the board. We have these delightful critters. Apologies, I can't remember what these are now, but they just kind of reminded me of pterodactyls. As my 12-year-old calls them pterodactyls. Of course, they have that silent P. Apparently, I'm very good at making the noise of a pterodactyl, although I'm curious how they know what noise a pterodactyl used to make. There it is. Okay, so we get 2 of those beautiful bird-like creatures. We get, and I believe this was the unnameable. I think for suitable reasons, I think if you were to encounter that as you maneuver down the street, I think you would be pretty hard pressed to name what you think that might be. So you get those main monsters. We also get 5 of these little bad boys. Oh, I think I'm missing an arm. Now, clearly I'll be placing a call with CMON for that. Let me show you one without a missing arm. That'll be good, won't it? There we go. We have him. That's what he looks like when he has both of his arms. They really do look quite extraterrestrial. Quite freaky. Okay, so we get 5 of those. We have 2 of these guys. Yeah, apologies. I don't know what's happening with my green screen camera. It's flickering all over the place at the moment, so apologies for that. There we go. It does remind me kind of a little bit dark crystalish. This one. Don't know why I get those kind of vibes from there, but yep. So we get 2 of those. We have this one with the kind of the side mouth. As you can see, those are a little bit bigger than these bad boys. These great big arms, claws, ready to tear you down. And as always with the course with the CMON miniatures, the level of detail, the texture is fantastic on these things. So these are going to be absolutely a dream to paint up, of course, using speed paints, contrast paints, because that is just absolutely prime for the painting. That is beautiful stuff. It's almost, that head is kind of gives me like kind of almost Little Shop of Horrors vibes to it, which again, of course, I imagine were very Lovecraft based. The notion of this man-eating plant from space, I think without a doubt got its inspiration from that. Okay, so they are the baddies, bar, of course, we have cultists. So we have a whole new set of cultists in this core box. So new poses. Idea what they look like. Ready for the sacrificing. And so you get 1, 2, 3, 3 of that model, and so you do get a slightly greater level of variation on these miniatures as well. There we go. So we've got ones with the swords. Hold out. So you do get 3 of those ones in here, and then we get 4 with the boxes. Sorry, the books with a sacrificial dagger ready to stab somebody, and a book in their hand as they're reading out the rituals to summon the old one. So that is it for the bad guys, and then we're into the investigators. So what I'll do is I'll unbox the investigators as we go through each of their character sheets, so you get an idea of who they are and the characters, of how they'll actually play as well. So I'll just pause the video for a moment and get that set up for you. Okay, so these are the investigator boards, and each one comes with bit of background for each of the investigators as well, so you get some story and a sense of who they are and why they're there, and their part to play in, of course, trying to prevent an elder one being unleashed upon the world, and their respectful characters to boot. Okay, so let's have a look. Who have we got here? Okay, so we have a Julian Dulik. I'm going to butcher some of these names, I'm sure, so apologies. From Belgrade, Yugoslavia. Okay, so let's have a look. Boy is saying he does not think this is good idea. Mike speaking for Julian. The boy doesn't speak, small wonder. The investigators, you can imagine the horrors he's seen. It's bad enough for fully grown adults. With such images inflicted on a young mind, it's a mercy that he only has this one impediment. In fact, you're not even sure if Julian is his name. It was written on the inside of his shirt collar, as parents sometimes do. Though, if he has his parents, no one has spoken up. It's a bit odd to have a child helping out against such dangerous enemies, but just try and stop him. Okay, so this is Julian. So each investigator then, so we'll just have a quick talk through the investigator board. So each investigator has really appreciate this, a quick rundown of what you can do each term. Some of these will have a bit of a saying for the characters in question. As you can see, Julian doesn't speak English, so doesn't have a saying. And across here is where you will track your stress. So you'll start over at this end and you'll gain stress, and you can rest to recover stress, and you can spend stress for various things, including rerolls and acquiring discoveries. And you have health, so you start over here at full health and you make your way over here. If you get to this point, you have died and the game is lost. So it doesn't matter how many investigators are playing, up to 5 investigators, one of you dies, you've lost the game. Over here is then where you place your tentacle to track your insanity or sanity, and then gradual demise of. And then these are the trigger points, as we were saying about those relics. So when you get up to here at that 3 point, that is when those relics flip and become pseudo relics and more powerful in your mind as to what they do. As mentioned, every character in these 2 slots here for their skills, there is a collective pool that is divided randomly across each of the characters in terms of what their skills are. So for Julian in particular, his skills are stealth and arcane mastery, and it tells you what they do. And then every character has their own unique skill, which is this for Julian in question, it is silent witness. There we go. So at the outset, your tokens will start here, so you always start with a level 1 in this skill. So we're making any roll except against yourself. After all re-rolls, you may heal 1 stress or wound for each insanity that has been rolled. So it really does drive on that notion. So we just zoom in a bit more and you can see the actual character miniature. And again, apologies, my screen's still flickering away. Not quite sure what's happened there. Okay. Otherwise, he comes with stealth. So when you run, you may sneak once. One enemy doesn't follow you when you leave an area. And arcane mastery, when making any rolls, you may count elder signs as a success, as well as any actual successes that you roll. So that is Julienne. Have a look. Next up, we have Mike. Whoop. See if we can get him here. Make sure I've just got the one board. Here we go. So there is Mike in all his glory. Mr. Strongman. There's his miniature. Good, very good. Okay, so let's zoom in a little bit there. There you go. You get a bit of appreciation of the miniature. Okay, so Mike Kozlov from Petrograd, Russia. Anger is good, da. Makes one feel alive. I'm not going to do the accent because I will butcher it, and yeah, I don't want to lose subscribers butchering people's accents. So Mikhail was a Russian strongman for a travelling circus who bembage, juggle 50-pound weights and wrestle bears into submission. Well, that last one was probably stage magic, but Mike is capable of some truly astonishing feats of raw might, particularly in a fight. And there is plenty of fighting in this line of work. Mike enjoys the challenge of facing these. I feel like I'm reading a flipping dating agency thing. What's happened there? Mike enjoys the challenge of facing these beasts head on, which means he's probably a bit crazy. That said, he's in good company, since only madmen seek out these nameless terrors and battle them head on. There we go. So there's Mike. Set up his glory. Okay, so anger is good, da, makes one feel alive. So there's a repeat of what we read on the back. So look, so he has brawling, gain a green die when attacking a target in your space, and also toughness Is that frozen again? It has just completely frozen again. I'm not, no idea what's happening with my green screen camera. It's definitely having a proper dicky fit at the moment. So apologies for this, folks. Very annoying. I'm just gonna turn that off and bring back over here. Okay. So his specific skill that he has then is proficient. So when attacking, for each stress you spend to reroll a die, you may reroll one additional die, resolve one at a time. Okay, so it has that extra reroll ability. I think what I might do, I might just drop this main camera down and have a look at them down here. There we go. So apologies, bear with me, folks. Just there we go. Oh, I've crushed my fingers. Okay, do as best I can. Okay, hopefully that's almost as good. So apologies, I need to kick my green screen camera's ass, obviously. Okay, so Jacob Peters, Warsaw, Poland. Learning how to heal also teaches us how to harm the bad guys. That is, have a look at his. Oh, I do like his mini. Of course, got his hacksaw there, ready to cleave off parts of the enemy. Hey, there we go. Focus in. Nice. As you'd expect, good level of detail. His bag. So of course he's our residential surgeon. Peters was a doctor at a mental institute, though not a psychologist. Any place that houses wards of the state needs a physician and surgeon on hand. Luckily Peters does both, but more and more the ravings coming out of some patients' mouths began to make some sense. He started to worry about his own mental health until he discovered that a cult had taken control of the facility. When they came for him, he was ready. He's sworn an oath to do no harm, but he feels that it doesn't apply to cultists and monsters. So let's have a look. So of course, surgeon, as we've identified, is his unique skill. So when you kill an enemy, heal one stress or wound on an investigator in your space. It may be yourself. Otherwise, he comes with brawling, so he gets an extra green die when he attacks enemies in his zone, and swiftness. So when you run, you may move an additional space. That's what we get with Peters. We have Agatha May with a Tommy gun. Whoop. Get her out. There we go. There's Agatha May with her Tommy gun. Probably just going old school on this now. Okay. Let's have a look at. She's from Chicago, Illinois. I learned to shoot when people wouldn't stop calling me Aggie. Okay. Agatha's part of a large crime family, though she's given up her title as heir apparent. She doesn't want to run the business while she's got eldritch horrors to put down. The eggheads and bookworms in the business are good at their jobs, but not always good in a fight. Agatha is very good in a fight. As such, she's happy to be a simple muscle and maybe sometimes help the scholars do the occasional bit of less than legal acquisition for their research. Oh, and if you value your skin intact, don't ever, ever call her Aggie. So, she comes with marksman. You may attack targets up to one space away. She comes with stealth. You may run and sneak past one enemy. They don't follow you. And then her unique skill is once per turn when you're attacking, you may take one stress to deal one additional wound. And obviously that progressively gets more powerful as you lose your mind. So, Sandra Atkinson. Go. From Plymouth, United Kingdom. Not my hometown, but it is my home country. There we go. Down on the south coast. Okay, I'd say this belongs in a museum, but we don't need the patrons going insane. Sandra's love of ancient secrets led her to places she never dreamed. Finding relics of truly alien races is beyond thrilling. Unfortunately, most of the world's most promising sites tend to be focal points for the eldritch beings and their human cultists. As such, her job requires weapons as often as picks and shovels. Also, many of the things that she finds would not be welcome among traditional academic circles, who remain blind to the hidden world beneath our own. Fortunately, those who battle these alien beings are always in need of more information. So, let's have a look at her power. So she has Brawling, an extra green die when attacking in her zone. She has Arcane Mastery, so you count Elder Signs as a success, one of at your lowest level. And then her special ability is Relic Seeker. At the start of your first turn of the game, take 2 random relics and choose one to keep. You may have more than one relic. Okay, so there potentially is the option at some point in the game to be able to acquire or gain another relic. Interesting. So, Stella Fontaine. Looks like she's a scientist of sorts. There we go. Very pandemic. Oop. That's a great job. Good. Loving it. Okay. We've got a test tube from Relics, France. Science has many practical applications. For instance, combining otherwise stable substances into something dangerously volatile. The joy of watching things explode is far more common among scientists, chemists in particular, than people might believe. Stella points that while the eldritch... Stella posits that while the eldritch beings she goes up against exhibit some supernatural properties, they still must abide by the physical laws of this universe. Case in point, hydrochloric acid will eat through a monster as quickly as it does a person. Thus, while not all of their properties or abilities are currently understood, time and further experimentation will bring to light even their most closely held secrets. Also, blowing them up is great fun. So, combined with Arcane Mastery and Marksman, her personal skill is Chemical Explosives. When you attack, you may target one additional figure in the target space. Split the wounds as you like. It's the first layer there. So, and then we have Sally Withers from New York, New York. There we go. There for you. So, Sally, her slogan is "Smile big, Mr. Monster." Wow, too many teeth. As one of the only war correspondents in the trenches during the Great War, Sally had the harrowing duty of photographing that brutal conflict close up. As such, she became well acquainted with death to such a degree that it threatened to extinguish her own smile permanently. But that was before she found a new calling. One might think finding a terrifying, horrific world lurking beneath our own would be even more traumatic. But for Sally, it restored her faith in humanity. Turns out, we're not the worst things out there. So combined with Arcane Mastery and Toughness, which gives her a free reroll when attacked or rolling for fire, her avid photographer means that when investigating, when an investigator leaves your space, you may follow. So it's that additional level of movement that she gains. Okay, we have Huikong. That's another nicely sculpted mini. Love all the curves in the robes. From Henan, China. Okay, so to fight, be where they are not. It is that easy and that hard. Huikong has travelled far and wide since an early age, seeking out eldritch horrors and the humans that worship them. But this is not a mission of redemption. There is only one way to redeem those lost to madness. As such, even at his advanced age, Huikong is one of the most lethal investigators occultists could have the misfortune to cross. He's a master of martial arts, an artist of death. To investigators, he's a voice of wisdom in an insane world. So combining swiftness and running an additional space with toughness, getting those rerolls, he also has self-defense. When attacked, if no wounds are dealt, you heal 1 stress and may push the attacker 1 space away. Good. And our last 2, Ruth Weber from Berlin, Germany. Here we go, with a little notebook. Looks like a reporter to me. Okay, let's have a look. Cheers. Taking names and kicking ass. Turns out even eldritch horrors don't check every shadow. As a freelance investigative reporter, Ruth finds herself looking into the most unusual situations. From organised crime to shady politicians and even war profiteering, Ruth has seen it all. Or rather, thought she had seen it all until she looked into a so-called cult in a small town on the East Coast. What she found was, well, you probably get the idea. Over the years, Ruth has found it advantageous to see without being seen. To her pleasant surprise, these creatures of night and darkness are usually just as oblivious to a knife in the dark as normal people are. So in addition to stealth and swiftness, she comes equipped with Sly. Once per run, when you sneak, also heal 1 stress. Very good. And last but not least, of course, our hero of the hour from Florida. There he is. Loving that sculpt. Fantastic. We have Leon Barnes. I'll slow down a bit and let you guys catch up. Leon was a soldier in the Great War, an officer and gentleman fighting alongside the British, who awarded him the Medal of Honor 3 times. He's got 2 congregational Medals of Honor, several medals from the French, and the Kaiser personally put a bounty on Leon's head. Or rather, this is what Leon says about himself. Most don't believe him, and that's probably wise. That said, he really does seem to know his stuff when it comes to a fight. But his boasts always come with a wink and a smile, so there's really no harm in it. Let's have a look at his abilities. We have Swiftness and Marksman, and of course his leading ability is Show Off. If there's another investigator in your space, you gain an extra green die to your rolls. And there we have it, folks. That is all of the investigators, all of the monsters. The only contents now left for review are, of course, our great old ones. So let's have a look at who we get in the core box. So we'll start with Azathoth. Just see if I can move this down a little bit more, see if it will hold. This is all very spring loaded, so it really doesn't like being down here, but we'll see how we cope. So Azathoth, of one of the old ones that you can mix in, obviously not just with this core box, but any of the content throughout. So let's have a look and see what we have. So we start with some nice spacey tokens, +1 health and +1 Elder Sign. So we've got a whole number of those tokens, and if we flip them over, they are the same on the reverse as well. Okay, we have, of course, the main cards that will be representing stage 1 through 4 usually. So we'll have a proper look at those in a moment. As was mentioned, we of course have the Mythos cards. So these will be mixed in with the Mythos cards of the particular episode that you're playing. So matching together the Great Old One and their specific means of interacting with the game, alongside, of course, the actual episodic information. Get rid of some tape. Let's have a look. Okay. And then there's something else stuck underneath. Okay. Whoa, what a beast! I mean, tentacles everywhere. There we go. Let's try and get it all fully on the screen for you. Wow. Look at that. I mean, you really wouldn't want to meet that down a dark alley, would you? Flippin' heck. Beautiful. And I'm loving the notion of these great colours that they've chosen on the artwork as well. Loving that pinky purple going into the greens. Loving that. So yeah, really keen to capture that. That looks stunning. Again, the amount of detail that's on these miniatures really do play into using those speed paints, contrast paints, which suits me to a T. I mean, that was, you know, as I mentioned earlier, that was the game changer for me. For many years, choosing not to buy any board games with miniatures. My gosh, I'm gonna actually have to cut away. I'll even remove the sellotape. Okay, here we go. Whoop. And they all fell out. Okay. Thanks for that. Okay. Too much tape, guys. Too much tape. Okay. These little trumpeters are like the little heralds for telling of his coming. Get that to properly focus. There we go. Again, more tremendous detail in that sculpt. Get that out of the way. Into the flip side of it. Lots of eyes. So we get 4 of those little pipers. What I kind of think of them as, but looking at them myself. Yeah. And I presume they'll have to stack in that fashion to all fit back in the right way. Go back up into there. Hey, pop it in the box. So this is what not to do, folks, when you're trying to put these away. Now you know. There you go. Allow me to demonstrate what not to do when you want to put these dudes away. Okay. There we go. So they go back in there, and of course, the big chappy fits nicely back in there with his sunken recess keeping him in place. Ta-da! Okay, so let's have a look at we saw the tokens. Let's have a look at his Mythos cards. So obviously these are how effectively we will be encountering this old one in the main. And then of course when he is unleashed and we have disrupted the ritual, at that point we can then start taking down his stages. So let's have a look. We have and hopefully it'll be coming out okay for you. So we have a Dancer of Azathoth. So each cultist and Dancer of Azathoth moves 1 space towards you. So that is, of course, the little Pied Pipers. Summon a Dancer of Azathoth to the red zone. we have another Dancer of Azathoth. The nearest Dancer of Azathoth moves 3 spaces towards you and then summon 1 to the blue zone. We have Cosmic Presence. So these are the tokens that we saw. Each cosmic enemy moves 1 space towards you. Now, I'm not entirely sure what a cosmic enemy constitutes. So I'll have to see if I can establish that somewhere. This simply means it adds cosmic upheaval. It adds 1 of these to the timeline, the storyline, so that increases the potential for the Elder One to progress on the track. And then you draw another card. Wow, okay, so we've got a couple of those. That's frustrating. Okay, Otherworldly Encounter. If there are 3 or more cosmic tokens available, place a cosmic token on each gate. When a cultist or monster is summoned at a gate with any cosmic token, place 1 of these tokens on the summoned enemy. Okay. Otherwise, at the end of the turn, advanced Azathoth on the track as if there were 3 summonings. Wow. Okay. The Blind Idiot God. If Azathoth is on the board, place a cosmic token on every non-cosmic cultist monster within 2 spaces of Azathoth. Then each cosmic enemy moves 1 space towards you. Otherwise, each cosmic enemy moves 1 space towards you. Okay, and if you summon a cultist, we have a Nuclear Chaos. Each cultist moves 1 space towards you. Place a cosmic token on the nearest gate when a cultist or monster is summoned at a gate with any cosmic token. Place 1 of these tokens on a summoned enemy, and then summon a cultist in the blue zones. That is how his cards will be operating. And therefore then, once you have disrupted the ritual and Azathoth is out on the board, ready to be attacked, or in fact this would count even before then. So let's have a look. So stage 1, there is no attack, so he's not out on the board. Enemies with cosmic tokens are cosmic enemies. Ta-da! Clarified. Thank you. Cosmic enemies gain an additional green die when attacking and have +1 health. Ouch. When Azathoth advances, move the nearest cosmic enemy 1 space towards you. Summon in order 1 Dancer of Azathoth, 1 cultist, both at the farthest gate. Place a cosmic token on the nearest non-cosmic monster. Okay. And these are all the same on the rear side of the card. At stage 2, so once he's been summoned out in the real world, so when revealed, summon Azathoth onto your space. Summon 1 Dancer of Azathoth into your space and place 1 cosmic token on every non-cosmic cultist monster in your space. When Azathoth or a cosmic enemy attacks, each Elder Sign also counts as Insanity. Ouch. When revealed, move Azathoth to the red gate. At each gate, summon a cultist for each cosmic token there. Then place 1 cosmic token on every non-cosmic cultist monster on the board, starting with 1 nearest to Azathoth. And Azathoth advances on the track if there are 2 or more in the discard pile rather than 3. Wow, so he really expedites and steps up. 12 hit points later, when revealed, move Azathoth to the blue gate, fully heal all enemies on the board. Woo! Move each cosmic enemy 1 space towards their nearest investigator, and at the end of each turn, if you're within 1 space of a cosmic enemy, lose 2 sanity. And of course, as I mentioned earlier, every Elder One comes with their own particular enemies that you'll be facing off against as well. So in this case, Azathoth has his own cultists. These cultists exalt the Demon Sultan. Good for them. Okay. And Dancer of Azathoth When destroyed, place a cosmic token on a non-cosmic cultist monster with most health in its space, if any. Okay. And that is it, folks. That is what we have in Azathoth's Great Old One box. That back away. And we are left with Sathogwa, who's like a giant toad, if I'm honest. That's what he reminds me of. Bloop. Okay. So we have some 2D eye tokens. Those nice 2D eyes. And they're same 2D eyes on the flip side. Okay. And we have more 2D eye tokens. Also same on the flip side. Lots of 2D eyes. Okay. We have some cards and more sellotape. Oh, this is the thing that does me in. Look, it's like torn it already. It is the one frustrating thing with puck boxes. I love them because obviously you can completely apply whatever graphics you like, which is fantastic. Make them nice and colourful, make them pop, make them beautiful. But of course, they're just not got the stability of something else. Wood. Plastic. Anyway, here we go. Woo! Nearly lost him. Wow. What a beast. There we go. Man, it's like me when I sit on the edge of the bed in the morning. I don't have the wings, but yeah, that hairy back. Killer. No, I don't have a hairy back. I'm trying to get into focus actually. You gonna focus? Oh, I'll just get the camera. Okay, I don't think it's gonna get any better than that, folks. Okay, there you go. Is that a bit better? Hopefully. But yeah, as you can see, you get lots of texture on that back. Loving the wings all folded up, beautifully done. Okay, as our main dude. He comes with two of these. What the heck are these? They're like little hound things. No, not even hounds. They're like, I don't know what they are. What the heck, dude? What the heck, man? I'm guessing they're like his little pets. What? Look a bit fishy. I don't know. Is that right? I don't know. Anyway, let's see. Let's dig in and find out. Let's see what they say. Okay. So again, we'll go through the and need to put my teeth in. Mythos cards first of all. So the Mythos cards are what we'll have as part of our Gemma encounter throughout the game with. I'm going to have to look up his name. Sathogwa. Okay, amorphous scion. The nearest amorphous scion, so that's right, there you go. That's what those little things are. Moves 2 spaces towards an investigator with the most fatigue tokens. That'll be those eyes. If tied, choose one. Okay, and then summon an amorphous scion. So there's only 2 of those, so I'm not going to be doing a lot of summoning. Evil inertia. Each cultist with an amorphous scion moves 1 space towards you. Summon an amorphous scion, summon a cultist. Okay, fairly straightforward. Exhaustion hunt. The farthest cultist moves 2 spaces towards you. If you have a fatigue token, it moves to your space instead. And then summon a cultist. We have a tireless devotees. Each cultist moves 1 space towards you, then you take 1 stress for each enemy in your space, and then summon a cultist. We have a Sleeper of Enkai. Choose an investigator to gain 1 fatigue token. There's confirmation. These are fatigue tokens. Then the investigator with the most fatigue tokens takes 1 stress, 1 wound, and loses 1 sanity. If tied, choose one. Okay. Divine Slothfulness. Gain 1 fatigue token. And then if any investigator has 4 or more fatigue tokens, advance Cthulhu on the track as if there were 3 Elder One signs in there. And Cthulhu's presence. If Cthulhu is on the board, you take 2 stress. For every stress you cannot take, you take a wound instead. And if Cthulhu is on the track, each investigator gains 1 fatigue token. Cult of Enkai. For each investigator with at least 1 fatigue token, summon a cultist in their space. That's the last of the Mythos cards for Cthulhu. Okay. So in terms of then bringing him down, let's have a look and see. Whoop. It's stage cards. Okay, so stage 1. This is what we'll start the game with Cthulhu. And I wish it would focus better. Apologies about this, folks. Very frustrating that green screen webcam just not playing ball. And if I come down here, is that any better for you? Maybe. Okay, so stage 1. When an investigator gains a fatigue token, they place it on the leftmost space of their stress or wound track, blocking that space. Ooh! If the tentacle marker is already on the leftmost space, you must take a wound or a stress. Ouch! You cannot remove your tentacle marker from the last stress space. Once per rest action, the investigator may heal 1 less to discard a fatigue token. Okay. When Cthulhu advances, choose an investigator to gain 1 fatigue token. Move each amorphous scion 1 space towards you. Summon 1 amorphous scion to the nearest gate. Okay. So stage 2. So now he's on the board. When revealed, summon Cthulhu into your space. Summon 1 amorphous scion at the nearest gate, and at the end of each turn, choose an investigator to gain 1 fatigue token, unless they discard an item or a companion. At stage 3, when revealed, move Cthulhu to the yellow gate. Each investigator gains 1 fatigue token unless they take 2 stress. At the end of each turn, the investigator with most fatigue tokens takes 1 stress, 1 wound, and loses 1 sanity if tied. Choose one. And the final stage, when revealed, move Cthulhu to the starting space, and then each investigator gains 2 fatigue tokens. Any one investigator may sacrifice themselves, take wounds until dead, to stop this effect. At the end of each turn, you take 2 stress. For each stress you cannot take a wound instead. And so the enemies for Cthulhu, of course, we have the cultists, and we have the amorphous scion, which is a bit of a venom thing, I guess, really. So using 3 dice to attack. When attacked by an investigator with a fatigue token, reduce wounds taken by 1. Ooh, so you definitely don't want to be going after it if you've got fatigue tokens. That is it, folks. That is everything, for sure. Everything that we get in core box, and I'm sure you will agree that really is quite an amount. And for me, the key is, as I've said time and again now, that variability, that ability to be able to mix and match all of this wonderful, glorious content that comes in this tremendous box. So we get our Elder Ones, we get our episodes 6 of, with all their various means of play, of gameplay. We get, of course, all of our investigators and baddies combined with all of their various Insanities, and of course the unknown wandering monsters as well. And of course every one of the investigators has their own unique abilities. What a tremendous, absolutely jam-packed box. They have not let us down. If you were just going to buy a single box to check out Cthulhu Death May Die, I can heartily recommend this one. From what I've seen, would I recommend this over the original core box? It's hard to say. I think because this gives you that additional content in terms of the unknowns and the relics, I think there's certainly more content in here. But there are certainly, I don't know, it's difficult. There are certainly much loved characters for me now in the original core box. And having not yet played these characters, I'm not convinced that they're the same level, the same degree. But I'm biased, right? Because I've played the original characters and I've grown to love them. And I may well have to say the same about these guys in a few weeks, months time about my opinion on these. But for now, I would be torn. The original core box is fantastic. The contents and the additional contents that come in here is also fantastic. Some of the things that they've clearly learned and addressed moving forward in here compared to the original, very much appreciated improvements in terms of, particularly just in terms of the maps and being able to identify zones. Clearly not an issue now in this core box. So yeah, the jury's out as far as I'm concerned, guys. Certainly you get more content, gameplay content in here, I think, than you do in the original. If you get as many bad guys, I'm not convinced. Not convinced. Maybe, because in the original one you had ghouls and you had, obviously the cultists was a given, but then you had ghouls and you had the water folk. Well, yeah, it's a tough one. It's certainly up there, though. It's certainly up there. I think there's very little in it, and I think either way, if you were to find this season 3 core box, the Fear of the Unknown, or the original Cthulhu Death May Die core box, at a good price, I can highly recommend picking them up. They are ridiculously easy to learn the foundational rules, and then the extra layers, as you've seen, that get introduced with the combination of the Elder Ones and the episodic play. Beautifully done. And again, this adds then additional levels of variability with the relics and with the unknown monsters on top of that. That's it, folks. That is everything that comes in the core box for season 3, Fear of the Unknown, Cthulhu Death May Die. I can definitely highly recommend it. For fantastic content. If you haven't tried it and there is a games library near you, I can highly recommend rock up, see if they've got it in, give it a try. It's my number 1 game. What more do I say? I'm biased, right? But I love it. That's it, folks, for the core box. I will, of course, be continuing my videoing for these other boxes, so season 4, and of course all of the wonderful additional content that came as stretch goals, and of course not to forget the smaller boxes that come. Thakra as an additional Elder One with his own means and capability to mix up the game, and of course I loved this, the animal allies. I think this was kind of similar to the relics that we saw. So they come with cards that give you a certain amount of playability, and then they flip as you go more insane, I believe. Fantastic stuff, loving it, loving the additional gameplay contents. Really looking forward to getting to the table. Anyway, that's it for me, folks. Thank you as always for watching. If you've liked this, please hit that like button, and if you want to encourage me to continue making more content like this, please hit that subscribe. It really does make a difference to me. I will sort out this flipping camera, and we'll be back at the table with a green screen that works, and we'll get more details on what's coming up next. Thanks for watching.